A VPN, short for Virtual Private Network, is a privacy protection tool that is quickly becoming a must-have. But why do you need a VPN, and how does it work in the first place? A VPN helps your data travel through the internet safely, without big companies or cybercriminals being able to spy on your online activities. Also, a VPN swaps the real location of your device with a new one. This way, you can virtually travel to any country around the globe. So, who can benefit from a VPN? If you're worried about your online privacy, a VPN makes sure your identity and private information are not exposed when you go online. If digital security is your top priority, a VPN gives a nice additional layer of security. It encrypts your data so nobody could see what you send and receive. If you are a human rights activist whose freedom of speech is restricted, a VPN helps you to bypass censorship and speak to the world. Or, if you're on holiday in another country, with a VPN, you can bring your home entertainment anywhere you go. Here's a pro tip: check out Surfshark VPN. It has everything you need in a premium VPN, awesome speeds, and industry-leading protection that covers all of your devices. All you have to do is click Connect. Secure your digital life and enjoy everything good that the internet has to offer with a VPN you can trust.
Click link in the description and get 81% discount for your first order. Cleaning and sanding your furniture. Set out a drop cloth or take your furniture outside. You're going to make a little bit of a mess while sanding your wood, and you don't want any paint dripping onto your floor, so set out a large drop cloth underneath your furniture. If you're painting a smaller item, feel free to take it outside so that you don't need to worry about making a mess in your home. If you paint your furniture outside on a windy day, you could end up with a lot of small pieces of dust, grass, or debris getting stuck in your paint. A windy day is excellent for sanding though. Clean your furniture with a damp cloth. Run a clean cloth or rag under warm water and wring it out over a sink or bucket to remove the excess water. Run the rag or cloth over every surface of your furniture to remove any dirt, debris, or splinters. Let the furniture air dry for at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes. If your pine is unfinished, wait 2 minutes, 3 hours to give the moisture time to evaporate. You don't need to scrub your furniture. It shouldn't be soaking wet by the time that you're done. Sand your pine with 120 minutes 150 grit sandpaper. Purchase a sanding brick or attach a sheet of 120 minutes 150 grit sandpaper to a belt sander. Run your sandpaper firmly across every surface of your furniture to pull up the porous wood, remove debris and splinters, and make it easier to paint. If you're using a belt sander, guide it carefully over the furniture. If you're using a sanding brick, use light back and forth strokes. Work in the direction of the grain. Unless you want a spongy, distressed look, you need to sand your furniture regardless of whether it is finished or unfinished. Stop after you've run the sandpaper over every section of the wood. Wear protective eyewear and gloves while doing this to prevent damaging your eyes or hands. Put on a dust mask before sanding to keep your lungs safe. Sand again using 200 minutes 220 grit sandpaper. Use the same method that you used to sand your furniture the first time to ensure that your wood grain remains uniform. Sand your furniture lightly with your brick or sander to remove smaller blemishes and smooth out minor scratches. Sanding twice will make it easier for the primer to bind with the wood, which will make the paint more uniform and permanent when you apply it. The finer sandpaper will also remove any wood dust that is sticking to your furniture after using the rougher sandpaper. You can stop sanding after you've run the sandpaper over each section of the furniture. Sanding with the finer paper will remove hard. Brush your furniture with a dry, clean paint brush. Wipe off the remaining wood dust and splinters by brushing your furniture with a standard paint brush that has never been used. Brush freely and firmly to wipe all of the debris onto the ground or drop cloth. You can wipe your furniture with a dry cloth or rag if you prefer. Priming your pine. Tape off any handles or details that you want to stay dry. Use painter's tape to cover any sections that you want to paint a different color or leave blank. Place a piece of painter's tape against the edge that you're going to leave unpainted and press it down as you roll the tape along the edge. Press down on a strip of painter's tape to ensure that the adhesive is smoothed out against the wood. If you have metal handles or leg covers, they can usually be removed with a screwdriver. Paint can bleed through the edge of painter's tape. Use it as a guide, not a perfect safety measure. Remove any drawers or shelves to make painting easier. If you're painting a dresser, end table, or armoire, remove the drawers or shelves so that you don't need to worry about paint dripping in between spaces in the wood. It is easier to paint these removable pieces separately, and removing them will prevent you from missing hard-to-reach areas between gaps. You don't need to prime, sand, or paint the areas that aren't going to be visible. You can paint and prime drawers and shelves on a set of sawhorses or separate section of your drop cloth. Fill a paint tray with a stain-blocking primer. Unscrew or pry the lid off of your primer and fill a paint tray with 1/2-3/4 gallon 1.9 L. If you plan on using latex paint, use a latex primer. If you're going to use an alkyd or oil-based paint, use a primer that uses the same base as the paint. Read a label before purchasing a primer to make sure that it is stain blocking for the best results. Wear a respirator or dust mask if you're working with oil-based primer. The fumes are a lung irritant. Open a window before pouring your primer if you're working indoors. Even non-toxic latex primers can smell obnoxious in a closed room. Roll larger surface areas with a thin napped mini roller. Use a 6 and 15 cm foam roller to cover larger surfaces of your furniture. Submerge your roller in the paint and then roll it 2 3 times in the tray to remove excess paint. Use light pressure to roll up and down across the flat surfaces. Roll 2 3 times over an area to ensure that you get primer on every section of your furniture. A medium-sized dresser should require roughly 0.5 gallons, 1.9 L of paint. It can be really hard to remove oil-based primer from a roller. You may be better off not wasting your time trying to clean it and toss it out. You can also wrap it in a plastic bag to keep it wet if you want to apply multiple layers. For rougher pine, use a thick napped roller instead. You can use a larger roller if your furniture is larger. Brush intricate details, curves, and smaller surfaces with a natural brush. Troll brush, roll brush, troll brush, roll brush, troll brush, roll brush, roll brush. Use an angled or flat brush with natural bristles to paint details, curves, or hard-to-reach areas of your furniture. Use back and forth strokes to cover each area of your furniture. Paint in the direction of the wood grain whenever possible. Leave no visible surface unprimed. It's okay if the coat of primer isn't perfectly even in color, especially if you're using a gloss paint, but every surface should be primed. Use your brush to work around any handles or edges of painter's tape. Avoid drips by brushing with light pressure and allowing your brush to move in your wrist as you paint. Wait 12 minutes 24 hours for your primer to dry. If you paint your pine furniture before the primer has a chance to fully dry into the wood, you'll end up with an uneven paint job and an unprotected piece of furniture. Let your furniture air dry in a low-moisture environment with plenty of access to air. Painting furniture with a brush and roller. Choose a color and style of paint. Select your color based on your personal preferences. Choose between a gloss, semi-gloss, or flat paint. You can use oil-based, alkyd, or latex paint. If you're painting a furniture item that you touch frequently, like a dresser or table, choose an alkyd-based paint. Latex paint will rub off more easily over time, especially if the furniture is being used regularly. For decorative pieces, latex will hold up just fine. If you're painting kitchen or bathroom cabinets, use an oil-based paint. It will resist moisture more efficiently than an alkyd or latex paint. If you want a distressed look and you use the furniture regularly, go ahead and use a latex paint. It will wear away and reveal the grain underneath over time. Fill a paint tray with 1/2 3/4 gallon, 1.9, 2.8 L of paint. Open your can of paint with a flathead screwdriver by prying the lid off with the screwdriver's head. Use a mixing stick to mix the paint until the color is uniform and even. Use both hands to hold the can over your paint tray and tilt it so that the paint pours into the tray. Use your brush to wipe the drips on the paint can away. Do this over your drop cloth or while you're outside. Paint can drip down the side of the canister, so be careful. Paint angles, curves, or rough edges with a natural angle brush. Angle brush. Dip the tip of your brush into your paint tray and then tap it on the dry slope to remove excess paint. Use back and forth strokes to cover any angles, curves, edges, or hard-to-reach areas with paint. Run your brush over an area 3 minutes 4 times to ensure that the paint gets into the wood grain. You can use a brush to paint the entire piece of furniture if you'd like. A roller will be easier to use and will result in more consistent look when it comes to larger, flat surfaces though. Depending on the size of your furniture, you can use a 3/4 in 1.9 7.6 cm brush. Hem brush, 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 hem brush. Roll larger surfaces with a 6 and 15 cm roller. Use a foam roller if you're painting unfinished pine. If you're painted previously finished wood, use a roller with 1/4 in 0.64 cm nap. Dip your roller in the paint tray and roll it in the bed to remove excess paint. Roll your furniture in the direction of the grain, starting from the top and working your way down. Cover each surface 2 minutes 3 times to make sure that you don't miss any indentations or grooves in the wood. If your piece of furniture is really big, feel free to use a standard 9 and 23 cm roller. If the wood is really rough or has a lot of scratches in it, try using a roller with a thicker nap. Apply additional coats based on how dark and uniform you want the paint to be. The more coats of paint that you apply, the darker and more uniform your paint job will be. If you want a more rustic, distressed look, you can stop after 1 coat of paint. For a standard look, apply 2 minutes 3 coats. Wait 6 minutes 12 hours between coats to ensure that the previous layer has fully dried. Sand lightly in between coats if you have any drips or blemishes that you want to cover. Apply a protective finish if you want to preserve your paint job. If you're happy with the look and feel of your painted furniture, you can stop after you've painted it. If you want to protect the paint, add a layer of polyacrylic protective finish. Use a natural bristle brush and a small foam roller to cover every surface of your furniture. Wait 72 hours to give the finish enough time to fully settle. The finish won't change the color of the paint job, but if you get a glossy version of the finish, it could make your furniture more reflective. If you don't wait at least 3 days before using or touching your furniture, it will be sticky and you could risk ruining the finish.